Before you lose your temper, consider the repercussions. You're about to lose it. The fickle finger of fate has decided to ruin your day. Someone you care about has done something unforgivable. You can't believe what's happening. If you were dealing with a total stranger, it would be bad enough, but since this is a person you respect and care about, the situation is all the worse. How could they do this to you? What were they thinking? Were they thinking at all? Do you think more about your relationship than they do? Did they think you would just stand by and do nothing in response to their insensitivity? Entertaining these types of thoughts can be dangerous. It's also natural and normal. There's nothing wrong with asking yourself these questions. Unfortunately, the more you entertain the answers to these questions, the closer you come to saying or doing something you can't take back. Be very careful. A typical response in this situation is to go over the top with your reaction. The idea is that if this person treated you in such a terrible way, you'll show them that you can do the same while making their actions pale in comparison to yours. Before you do anything and respond in any way, ask yourself this question: what are the repercussions of my actions? Let's take a little physics lesson from Sir Isaac Newton. His third law of motion states that for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. We unfortunately take that physical law to heart when someone has wronged us. Someone acted, so we're going to react in a big way, and it usually isn't pretty. If you think this gives you the go-ahead to react impulsively, it doesn't. While that law applies to physics, it doesn't have to apply to the things that happen in your life. Sometimes the best reaction is no reaction at all. Ask yourself what repercussions your action may have. When you take time to do this, you automatically start a calming process. You're putting some time between you and the event that has ticked you off. You're not responding immediately or impulsively. That can be a good thing. Oftentimes our response is more severe than the problem we're responding to. This is so true, isn't it? We seem to want to one-up a person that offends us in some way. Just remember that your response can do much more damage than what you're responding to. Ask yourself if you really want to make the problem bigger. Whatever it was that happened, it's over and probably can't be reversed. Apply that way of thinking to your response. Understand that some things can't be taken back. Then distance yourself from the situation, distract your focus, and consider if no response is the best response. Forgiving yourself can help you control your temper. Nobody's perfect, you included. We all have our imperfect character traits. Sometimes we're well aware of our shortcomings. That makes it easy to work on areas we would like to improve. Other times, aspects of our personality that require work are seemingly invisible to us. The people we care about might be able to see flaws in our character, but we can't. Sometimes this happens because we subconsciously don't want to face these issues. We unconsciously turn a blind eye to what we perceive as less than positive traits. That way, we don't have to address them. Nobody likes to admit they need work in some emotional area. On other occasions, our lack of effort to heal some emotional issue is conscious. We openly embrace guilt about the way we treated someone. We refuse to forgive ourselves for being imperfect. Expecting perfection, especially where emotions are concerned, is futile to say the least. Learn to be kind to yourself. Sometimes we lose our cool because we care a great deal about someone. If you have children, you know what we're talking about. You expect yourself to be the perfect parent. When you make a mistake dealing with your kids, you get frustrated. When this happens a few times, feelings of anger towards yourself can lead to an emotional outburst that claims an innocent victim. Some of us let this behavior go on for years or even decades. It leads to unneeded stress that can cause physical and mental health problems. You begin to embrace your indiscretions and failures rather than accepting them as mistakes and learning from them. If you can't be forgiving and kind to yourself, how can you be that way with other people? This person often begins to transfer blame to others. They know good and well that they aren't making much of an effort to control their emotions. Even so, they finger point and play the blame game. I only lost my temper because blank made me do it. They fill in the blank with the name of anyone who conveniently let them disperse their misplaced anger. This does no one any good. It can harm the most important relationships in your life. Forgive yourself. Be kind to the amazing person that is you. You're not perfect. None of us are. Learn from your mistakes instead of embracing them. Until you forgive yourself for your past emotional outbursts, you're going to keep losing control of your temper in the future. If you're about to fly off the handle, do this first. We all lose our cool from time to time. Something happens, and many times it's out of our control. Some person or event threatens to wreck our emotional state. We feel so transgressed that our emotions can lead to a damaging response or action. The next time this happens to you, choose the fly-on-the-wall approach. You might know what we're talking about here. You've heard someone say, "I'd like to be a fly on the wall in that situation." What they're saying is they wish they could monitor a situation without acting upon it. They want to see everything that's happening without the interested parties knowing or caring that they're paying attention. The Journal of Experimental Social Psychology did some research in this area in 2012. They found that self-distancing in the heat of the moment reduces aggressive thoughts, angry feelings, and aggressive behavior. Their research pointed out something you probably already know. The longer you sit with your thoughts about something that's causing you emotional distress, the worse the situation can become. The researchers pointed out that this is like using gasoline to put out a fire. All you need to do is feed the flame, and in some cases, it can burn out of control. Think about similar feelings in the past. Self-distancing is all about going back in time. The first step is to reflect on previous situations where you felt the same way. This probably isn't the first time that you felt like you were losing control of your emotions. Although it might be difficult to do, revisit past situations where you lost your temper. Think about what happened. Imagine you're a fly on the wall watching your own behavior objectively. It might not be a pretty picture. Even so, this is important because it gives you perspective. This simple practice has been proven to reduce the impact of your response to something that threatens to make you lose control of your emotions. As a fly on the wall, all you're doing is viewing past situations where you might have lost control of your temper. Then you look at your current situation in the same way. Be as objective as you can. While that's easier said than done, it's important to keep you from some knee-jerk reaction that can lead things to spiral out of control. Develop a fly-on-the-wall approach the next time you want to throw a temper tantrum. It gives you perspective. It helps you maintain control over your emotions when your temper threatens to cause problems in your life. Stop losing your temper. It's killing your heart. Anger is a powerful emotion. It often accompanies temper tantrums and emotional outbursts in both children and adults. Something happens that threatens your control of your emotions. This can be frustrating. It can also cause anger to start building up. Aside from making you look like a crazy person when you have an emotional outburst, anger can quite literally kill you. Dr. Chris Aiken is the director of the Mood Treatment Center in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. He warns that losing your temper can do a lot more damage than you may have thought. Your chance of having a heart attack doubles for a full 2 hours after any type of anger-fueled outburst. That's enough reason to think twice about responding with anger to any situation. You might not be surprised by this warning. You understand that losing control of your emotions gets your heart beating faster, makes your blood boil, and boosts the amount of stress and inflammation in your body. What's equally dangerous to your heart is if you fail to address your situation. Recognize the event, but don't ignore it. Dr. Aiken was interviewed by the Everyday Health website on the dangers of losing control of your emotions. He points out that you need to address any issue that causes you to feel emotions like anger and frustration. Repressed anger, where you express it indirectly or go to great lengths to control it, is associated with heart disease. This means it's constructive to recognize your feelings, look at the event that caused them, try to see things from both viewpoints if some other party is involved, identify your emotions, and address your feelings before you lose your temper, not afterwards. You employ what Dr. Aiken calls constructive anger. Speak up and address the person who caused you to feel this way. You don't respond negatively or attempt to get back at the individual. You approach him or her with a problem-solving attitude. What you don't do is channel your anger into another outlet. You certainly shouldn't repress your feelings and keep them inside. Those are actions which lead to a personality trait called anger proneness. It doubles your risk of developing coronary disease. Heart disease is the #1 killer around the world. It's caused by a lot of factors. Don't give it an upper hand in your life by repressing your anger. Address your emotions and try to figure out a way to solve the problems that cause them. This can keep an inappropriate anger response from leading to heart disease or a heart attack. You might be the person responsible for losing your temper. You might not have liked that title very much. That's understandable. Self-reflection that reveals negative aspects of our personalities can be difficult to face. None of us want to be the cause of our problems in our lives. Unfortunately, that's sometimes the case. We all do things and put ourselves in environments that lead to unfortunate results. That's the harsh, cold reality of life. We're sometimes the reason for our grief and frustration. It's easy to admit this when life is wonderful and everything looks rosy. Admitting that we're often our own worst enemies is next to impossible once we've lost control of our emotions. Luckily, there's something you can do right now to prepare yourself for better emotional control the next time you're about to lose your temper. It requires you to be very honest with yourself. Sometimes that's difficult, but it's absolutely vital if you want to enjoy more calm and cool feelings rather than stress, frustration, and emotional outbursts. Stop putting yourself in certain situations and environments. This sounds pretty easy to do. It can be incredibly difficult. We all engage in self-destructive behavior from time to time, from one degree to another. We might put ourselves into situations that wind up causing problems. At first, it appears we're not doing anything wrong, yet time and again, when we choose to place ourselves in a particular environment, the outcome is less than desirable. Before you undertake this exercise, you need to ask yourself a question. Do you really want more emotional well-being and balance? It's easy to answer yes to that question. When you do, the next step is much more difficult. Now you have to honestly look at the lifestyle choices you make. Do you consistently put yourself into situations that often end up causing emotional distress? Are there environments you know you should avoid, but for whatever reason you convince yourself things won't wind up like they have so many times in the past? Perhaps there are people you really love being around. They're a source of great joy. They can also push your buttons emotionally from time to time. Would it be better to limit your exposure to these people? These are difficult questions. Asking them now before you lose your emotional control is important. It gives you the power to limit your exposure to events, people, and environments that cause you to lose your temper.